I can't keep secrets. So it made sense that with my I can't keep secrets and Lena's wanting to run a company where everybody realizes a thing that we all know, but really people don't actualize. That is, everybody in the company is important to the success of the company. If things don't get out the door at the warehouse, we're dead. If we don't have great customer service who understand what we're doing and how to communicate that, well, we're dead. If our product team goes off the rails, we're dead. I mean, everybody. So for us, open book means a couple things. One, literally that. When we have our whole company meetings, we show them the numbers. We're going over a slightly simplified budget and P&L, so they know where we came from, what's going on, and what we're doing moving forward, or at least what we're planning moving forward the day we have the budget, knowing that, the next day it's going to be completely fake because you can't predict the future.
Welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Gene Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow?
Today, we're going to talk about open book leadership. You probably never heard that term before. You probably heard open book finances or open book is a part of being transparent, but open book leadership is the combination of kind of those things together. It will be unpacked for you today with our special guest. He is the founder, CEO of Xero Shoes. We have Steven Sashen with us, and Steven really is a nut. I say that with love and care. He has got so much energy and so much clarity in who he is, what he's doing, and this open book leadership thing is one of the reasons why I think this company is so successful. It's a great product. It's a great brand. They have great, kind of marketing and reasons for this. But behind that, it's a team that is aligned together, that is working on this mission. And it is such an incredible way for you to learn a different way to probably operate your company. Open book leadership is something that I think we could borrow from. I think you could steal a couple of these ideas and you really could implement and change your business if you're willing to do that, have the courage. My name is Gene Hammett. I'm a CEO coach. We do executive leadership development and coaching. We have leadership development for managers, and we do all of this in service of helping companies grow and scale their businesses. With that amount of chaos that happens, the people problems, we address all that head on through coaching. It is a very powerful force in my own life, and I share that with my clients. I'm living my purpose, and if you are curious about the work we do, your next move is to check out the free training we have that will help you understand how to stop being the bottleneck of your own company, get out of your own way, and scale a company that grows without you. That is at training.coreelevation.com. If you come to that, you'll learn the 5 essential elements, the path that we take all of our clients through in order to create the company of their dreams. If you are curious about that, go to training.coreelevation.com. Now, here's the interview with Steven. Hey, Steven, how are you?
Good. It's a Monday, so, I'm going to temper that a little bit, but basically good.
Well, I know of your brand, maybe not as many other people know about it, but tell us about Xero Shoes.
Oh, I'll say it this way. If your feet don't feel as good at the end of the day as they did at the beginning of the day, you're not wearing Xero Shoes. So everything we do is based on letting your feet do what they're made to do: bend, flex, move, and feel to function naturally, to be strong and healthy and happy by making things that are, well, here, I'll hold it up for people watching: a wider foot-shaped toe box, low to the ground for balance and agility, flexible enough to let your feet bend and move the way they're supposed to. The soles are designed to give you traction and protection, but also the ground feel that your brain needs to know how to move you correctly over the terrain that you're on. We make our shoes extra durable. Our soles are backed with a 5,000-mile sole warranty. And Xero Shoes, so light, people literally have gone to bed still wearing them because they forgot they had them on. And last but not least, we've got over 60 different styles of casual and performance shoes, boots, and sandals that people wear for everything from taking a walk on the beach to literally playing on the NBA and WNBA court and everything in between.
I didn't know all that about the brand.
So there.
I know you guys are a little bit controversial because there's some schools of thought that think more cushioning and more support.
No. We're not controversial. We're right.
Tell me a little bit more.
Seriously. So the whole idea of cushioning, I'll say this: you have 200,000 nerve endings in the sole of each foot for a reason. So your brain knows how to control your body to deal with the terrain you're on. If you can't feel two things. One, that makes you unstable. Two, your brain actually tries to make you land harder to get some kind of feedback. And that extra hardness, usually, depending on your gait, is going to be putting force into your joints, your ankle, your knee, your hip, and your back, and whichever is the weakest in that link will lose. And this is not my opinion. This is research that's been done over and over and over, showing no amount of cushioning reduces the impact forces that you generate and often increases them, again, because your brain is looking for information that you're not giving it.
I have loved the brand. I don't own the shoes, and I wish I had some for my big trip to running with the bulls, which I know you said this may be my last podcast ever. So if this is, if I do
I'm
meet
honored.
my demise,
I'm honored.
this will be the last one ever. We'll be at 12:08 or something like that. Steven, I am curious beyond the shoes, how you run your company, how you create the culture, because we know that companies aren't just built by some charismatic single person driving things forward. It's built by a team, and you believe in open book leadership. What does that mean to you?
Well, let me back up a half a step because
Yeah.
I like to say all businesses rise to the level of the neuroses of their founders.
Yes.
So when you see a founder who's like nuts, I assure you the company is too. So while, it's kind of built by a team, it's mostly built by the way the people in charge think. And my wife and I started the company, and one thing we thought is, we want to provide great customer service. It's not rocket science. It's not hard to do better than the average bear. And another one is that I don't code shift very well. I treat everyone like they're people that I've known forever. It's just easier in my brain that way, and that's the way I treat our employees here. Admittedly, for better or worse, I no doubt say inappropriate non-corporate things sometimes. Not bad, but just like not the way you're supposed to talk in a company. They tell me, and my wife like is a brilliant finance operations person. She just wants to have everyone be part of the family, and that's what we are. And the biggest thing for me is I can't keep secrets. So it made sense that with my I can't keep secrets and Lena's wanting to run a company where everybody realizes a thing that we all know, but really people don't actualize. That is, everybody in the company is important to the success of the company. If things don't get out the door at the warehouse, we're dead. If we don't have great customer service who understand what we're doing and how to communicate that, well, we're dead. If our product team goes off the rails, we're dead. I mean, everybody. So for us, open book means a couple things. One, literally that. When we have our whole company meetings, we show them the numbers. We're going over a slightly simplified budget and P&L so they know where we came from, what's going on, and what we're doing moving forward, or at least what we're planning moving forward the day we have the budget, knowing that, the next day it's going to be completely fake because you can't predict the future. The other thing we wanted to build in is people understanding that in a real way beyond just, hey, here's the numbers. And by the way, let me pause there. The reason for showing people the numbers is so that they recognize that they have some opportunity to be helpful. We have a great story where we were showing people what it cost down to the level of shipping and returns. And one of the people in our warehouse had realized that because of some software setting, if we sent a customer 4 pairs of shoes and they returned one, we were still getting charged as if they had returned all 4, the same weight, even though the actual box was lighter. And when this employee figured that out, that saved us a lot of money. And we couldn't have been more grateful. But, where's the motivation for doing that if you don't feel like you have some role in this, some participation, which brings us to the next 2 parts. Part 1, we do a profit sharing inspired bonus plan every quarter. So many people do, revenue sharing plans. They do it some number of months after the year closes, but that doesn't give people a feeling for what's happening on an almost moment to moment basis, not only with the company, but with their role in the company. So at the end of every quarter, if we're profitable, we'll take a percentage of that, and that gets split evenly among everyone, other than a couple of people in the executive team who have options, et cetera, but everybody else, including me and my wife. And I keep saying I don't want it, and they say you have to take it. So the other thing is sometimes we're not profitable for a quarter for whatever reason. And if that's the case, first of all, we explain what's going on to everybody in the company about why. And if it was because for whatever reason, that doesn't make a difference why, something happened, but people worked their butts off and we still weren't profitable that quarter, maybe, tariffs or some other massive expense, whatever it is, I think almost every time, not every time, but almost every time, we'll still come up with a way of giving people a bonus because they worked their butts off. And we want to acknowledge that and show them that no matter how hard you work, things don't necessarily turn into the dollars and cents you're looking for. And the second one we do is it's our long-term incentive program. So rather than options, which is kind of blunt force instrument that many people don't really understand. They don't know, for example, that they could end up having to pay taxes before their options have vested, which makes people's head explode. What we do instead is we've set aside a percentage that if there's a liquidity event or change of control, a portion of whatever that number is gets divided again evenly among everyone who's been with the company for at least 18 months. And then another portion that we can use discretionarily for people who've gone above and beyond the call of duty or who haven't been with the company for that 18 months, but still we know we want to give them something. And so that way, it's of course building, not, I don't like to think of it as loyalty, but we want people to see this as something where when you put it all together, they want to be here, they want to make it happen, and they want to see the value of that. And the quickest story I'll end my rant on is, I might cry when I say this because I do often. During our last team meeting, one of our warehouse employees came up and was in tears because, yeah. First of all, those people typically never get bonuses at all. They usually get undermined completely. And she was so grateful that she's been with us for a number of years and she was just able to buy a house in this market.
Mm.
And the only thing that hit me as hard as that is when our first employee, or when the first time an employee during a kind of review of their work referred to his being here as his career. And my wife and I are like, what have we done? We were so nose to the grindstone, we didn't really think about what we had created. And that's the way, I mean, we've watched people just move up and up and up from typically customer service, because that's where we want people to understand everything about what we're doing in our customers. And then once you've done that, we give people an opportunity to say, well, now that you've learned something, what are we not utilizing that you can do, like to do, and want to do well? And when I look around the company, there's just like so many people in higher position, not like higher positions, other positions where they're, whether it's accounting or inventory or product or project management. I mean, so many things that people have just realized I can help here more than here now that I know how this business works. So put all that together. And that's it. Actually, one last thought, and this is not quite open book per se, but it's relevant. Given everything that's been going on in the last few months with tariffs, it's been Looney Tunes, and we are keeping everybody apprised of what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how we're doing it, because it could really affect the business in a lot of ways. And we don't want to be shy. And if something bad happens, so far we're doing quite fine. We've negotiated really great terms with our distributors and our manufacturers. But regardless, if something really bad happened, we don't want to surprise people. We want them to know in advance what's going on and everything we're doing to try to mitigate it. And also, we know that sometimes they come up with ideas as well. And, or at the very least, they're on the ride with us. So it's not, how I don't know if you ever had this or even have this now, where sometimes you can just tell there's something out of whack. Someone's not telling you the truth.
Yeah.
I just can't do that. And it just seems, what's the technical word? Stupid.
Steven, you went through so much there. I want to go back to the beginning.
Good luck.
Sharing your financials probably
Yeah.
scares the bejesus out of most CEOs. The funny thing is, I had a team meeting before going on vacation today, and I put up, I went over to this email I put together last week, and I wanted to make sure they really got it. And part of that was I showed my financials.
Yeah.
I showed revenue. I didn't get into the P&L, but I also framed it in. I taught them. You said something about a modified P&L. I get why you do that, but can you give us a little bit of understanding what modified P&L
Yeah,
is?
modified means not everyone's going to want to see every line on the P&L.
Yeah.
So we do kind of the highlight film, but not like a 7-line thing. I mean, we go, deep enough. And we say, if you want to know more, come up and learn more. And one of our accountants now was someone who came up to learn more and then was like fascinated by accounting and then went to business school and is here. So there was something, come on. So I'll give you a story about why I think it's really important. As the company got bigger and bigger and bigger, and I can give you public information. We did an equity crowdfunding raise in 2017. So we're an SEC reporting company. So I can only say things that are public. And I don't have the Q2 2024 numbers, or I would say those. So I'll just give you 23. We did about 65 million in sales. As we were growing and people were with us from the time, it was in our house, basically, we wanted to make it really clear that just because the company's making a lot of money, that doesn't mean that, it's all flowing to us and we're taking first class trips to the moon and back. So I remember vividly at one meeting during COVID where we said, I don't remember the number, I'm making this up, where I think we showed that we had made cumulatively like $100 million. And the profit we had made during that whole thing was like $2 million. I mean, I'm making that up,
Yeah.
but like cash in the bank. It was something where it's like, yeah, the company can have a lot of the company can have made a lot of money, but the amount of money that's like literally cash in your hand is a whole different story. And that's one way of getting people to understand cash flow that they would otherwise never understand. And I always made it very clear if ever I showed up with a new car, not a new car, a new to me car, I always made it very clear what that car actually cost because it's usually less than what everyone else's cars cost.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean they're junky cars. I buy really nice cars. I just know how to shop. So, but again, there's so many little weird psychological things that I think are really important about being that open about what the numbers are, that if you nip them in the bud, when you come to our all team meetings, the one thing, if you ask people how they feel about being here, they all use the same word, and it's family. And I'll never forget when someone in customer service started telling their friends, you've got to come work here. And the number of people in our warehouse who are there because there's family members who are there. You put all that together, that doesn't happen, I don't think, unless you are providing the kind of environment where people feel included.
We've been talking about open book, and I just want to kind of highlight a very specific element of this. We've been talking about finances and things like that, but transparency. Let's talk about transparency and why it's an important force inside of a culture. Well, when you are open to your people, they feel like insiders. They feel like they are in the know. When you are not telling them, they feel like they're not in the know. They feel like they're in the outside circle and they're looking in. I will also tell you this too, and it's kind of a just different perspective of transparency and why it's important, is if you don't tell them what the truth is, most people make up the worst version of that truth that they can think of. I've had many clients that have said, you're just going to sell the business and leave us high and dry. And the reality is he's never said anything about selling the business. That's just something they made up in their head. So instead, we had to come up with a different way to approach that and saying, this is the future of the business. We'd invite you to come along with us. But if you tell them the real truth, they don't make it up in their head. And I'll leave you with this final thought. And when you think about, sharing something that might be a little bit edgy, maybe a little bit scary to you, uncomfortable. Many times what I've seen, and really it's all the times, but I'll just go ahead and be conservative and say many of the times that people will share things that they're afraid to, that the people around them rally for them, not against them. They're not just, if you say that we're going into a tough time right now, they're not just going to look for another job. They're looking for ways that contribute more value and look for ways to save the company money, maybe make more money, innovate, whatever it may take. They're rallying for you, not against you. That's just my take on transparency and how that fits into this open book leadership concept. Back to Steven. Yeah, which is such an important thing and rare in today's world. I think a lot of employees show up for jobs and they don't feel like they're heard. They don't feel like they have a say and a voice. But I would get the envision. Open book leadership isn't just about financials. It's so
No.
much more than that.
Yeah.
When you think about, how you share with employees, I call it the transparency line. Yours is pretty remarkable. It's not like the other companies around you.
That's weird. Because in my head, we could do more, frankly. I mean, I can think of other things so 2.5 years ago, I had a rare cancer in my eyeball. There was only like 4 people, only like 2,000 people a year get it. I'm special. So there was only a couple people in the company that I told until I was done with the treatment because I didn't want people worried. Because if they heard that, this thing, if it metastasizes, the variance on mortality go from like, oh crap to, oh geez, it's not good. But I didn't want anyone worried because these are like, I treat these people like friends and family. And I knew if I told everyone, they'd be freaking out. So I told everyone once the surgery was done and once it was pretty clear that I was going to be cool.
I get that. I bring you back into this whole culture of ownership, right? You mentioned that when the research we've done, what is that culture of ownership and what would we see across the company that demonstrates a culture of ownership?
Well, other than the financial things that we've set up, one of my favorites, and this has gotten, as we've gotten bigger, we can't quite do this the same way we used to, is when we develop new products, we used to have the entire company brainstorm product names. And now it's a smaller group, partly because of just how much time that it can take with roughly 83 people. But at even that level, I mean, there are products named after certain employees for various reasons. And the way things get set up, I'm going to use certain operational things are created by the teams doing it, not by some mandate from above about how to use software. So I was a software developer way back when, back 1993, beyond there. And when I was developing software, it was all based on how humans think, not how programmers want them to think. And we sort of have that same mindset here as well.
When we think about what makes you guys special, other than your,
Product.
different take on product, what is
No,
it?
wait, hold on. I got to stop.
Yeah,
We're not the intervention. This is what footwear looked like up until about 1972.
right.
The intervention is the quote modern athletic shoe for which there is zero evidence that it improves health and well-being and reduces injury risk versus our stuff, which does the opposite.
But what beyond what we've already talked about today, what makes your company such a special driving force? Because you guys are very, very unique from your peers. Can you put a finger to that? What makes you different?
I like to say if you're going to start a company or run a company, for me, the only way to do it is if you can do two things: change people's lives and tell the truth, not necessarily in that order. Doesn't really matter what the order is. And what has grown our company from day one is people calling us, emailing us, leaving reviews, literally stopping me on the street to tell everyone in the company how much we've changed their lives. And to be clear, again, getting back to the footwear, it's not because we've added something. It's we've gotten rid of the things that cause problems. And it's those two things are really inspiring to everybody. When customer service, typically all you're hearing is people complaining about stuff, but they also hear a lot from people going, "Oh my God, you changed my life." And that really helps. And even in the warehouse, people hear it. People walking around there's no one in the company who hasn't been stopped by someone who didn't know they worked for the company to say, "Oh my God, those are Xero shoes. I have those. And they changed my life." And so that's a big part of it. If you're not changing people's lives, there's a lot of wheels and cogs, and we don't have any cogs or wheels.
Steven, I can relate to this in a different way. I don't have a product like you do, but I believe this is not my first business, but it is the business that allows me to express my purpose, changing people's lives.
Yeah.
And I wish other CEOs saw their businesses not as a profit engine or some type of thing to make money for shareholders and whatnot, but as a mechanism to change lives for employees and their customers.
Well, and to be clear, I hear a lot of people justify that one. Some of it is sort of kind of social washing or kind of a version of greenwashing. It's like, we're changing people's lives because for every one of these that we sell, we're doing something somewhere else. That's great. I'm not saying don't do that, but our mission is our mission. We don't need a secondary mission. And other people just try to rationalize it. Like, congratulations, you make the greatest outdoor toilet ever. But no one is coming up to you going, "Oh my God, thank you so much for that outdoor toilet." Again, get in that business. It's a great business. It's a very important business. And it's not, and if you are like, all about toilets and that feels like you are living your highest whatever doing that, I am thrilled for you. But I can tell you the difference between doing that and knowing that you're helping people and having people, and like, I haven't made it through an airport without being stopped in 10 years. I was just in Copenhagen and I'm walking down the street and a guy goes, "Hey, you're Steve. Oh my God, I know you. I mean, I don't know you, but I know you. But oh my God." And then points to his shoes. That's a whole different kind of changing people's lives. And there's not a lot of businesses you can do that. So I'm not telling people to quit and try and start a competing shoe company, but I am saying that, that's a really cool thing. And if you're doing that, you have a certain responsibility that I think, other people don't have if they can be a little more in the shadows.
Steven, and maybe that's the reason I thought I've interviewed you before, because I've interviewed hundreds of people and I just could have sworn I looked at it 3 or 4 different times because I just feel like I know you and the brand so well, but this is the first time it's because I haven't found any evidence otherwise. I really appreciate you being here, sharing your perspective on open book leadership and how that has shifted not just the way you operate in the company, but the way your employees, the way you put your brand out into the world. I think it's just amazing. Thank you for sharing.
Pleasure. Thanks so much.
Wow, what a great interview to talk about open book leadership. I love his energy. I love his clarity and his commitment to not just his product, but his people. If you think about it, everything he talked about today is in service of those people getting what they deserve, creating a place where they can grow, creating a place where they feel connected, feel like family. And I love so much of what this is going. Now, hopefully you took notes, you can execute on this. If there's any way I can help you, please let me know. My name is Gene Hammett, and I'm happy to do that. When you think of leadership and you think of Growth Think Tank. As always, through courage. We'll see you next time.